I've been with the college since 2003 and formerly a professor of mathematics and currently serving as director of the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning. And I've been in this position since 2017. It's hard to believe it's already going into my third year. So I've been in this position since 2017 and also currently serving as chair for the P-Tech Council.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carla McCabe, Constituent Events Coordinator in the Marketing and Communications Department. And I have been with the college since 2013. It will be 6 years in November. And I am currently serving as a board member on the PTAC board.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Allen. I'm the Communications Coordinator, and I work in the Marketing Department as well. I've been here, I can't believe it, but it'll be 10 years in November. And I'm also a PTAC board member this year.
Hello. My name is Sabrina Deschner. I'm the Manager of Communications and Employee Engagement, and I've been at the college almost 10 years, but I was formerly in the role as Coordinator of Student Life and have been in HR almost 3 years. So yeah. And I'm on the PTEC board as well.
Good afternoon, Chris Giddens. I've been here, I think, 14 years now. Assistant Director of Financial Aid and Secretary Treasurer. There you go. Look at that.
Hi. What are we doing? Name? Oh, my name is Shayla Harris. I'm Director of Student Success Services, and I've been here 6 years, 7 years, 6 years, something like that. Oh, I am Vice Chair of PTEC. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bianca Smith. I've been at Seminole State since 2009. It'll be 10 years on the 19th of this month, and I'm currently Assistant Director of our E-Services Department.
My name is Amina. I'm the Risk Manager in the Legal Affairs Department, and I just started in January.
Good afternoon. I'm Molly Kostenbader, Dean for Allied Health and Early Childhood Education, and I've been at the college for 16 years.
Pam Delgado, Finance System Analyst. I've been at the college since 1989.
Morgan Tracy, Director of College Libraries. I've been here 2.5 years.
Jeff Nelson, Coordinator, Intramural and Recreational Sports, and I've been at the college for 3 years.
Ashley Toyzan, Assistant Director of Student Recruitment, and I've been here 12 years.
Hi, Seema Sunasra. I'm in the admissions office since 2014.
Hi, Mark Richardson, Marketing and Communications for 3 years now.
I'm Michael McCurdy, Instructional Designer in E-Learning, and I've been here for 6 years.
Hi, Terry Christensen, Academic Success Center Outreach Supervisor, and I've been here, I don't know, a while, more than 10. I stopped counting.
Hi, I'm Charity Lojudas. I'm the college-wide and community events coordinator for the college, and I have been here since 2006.
Hello, my name is Kim Mesnicki. I'm the Dean of Biological Sciences, and I've been here for 27 years.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Maggie Thomas. I'm probably the newest person here. I just hit 6 months last week, so woo! And I'm the new assistant director for assessment and testing, so a lot of faces are starting to look familiar to me, although I'm still trying to remember names, so forgive me if I have to ask names still.
So is it like to the people or to the cameras? I'm James Miller. I'm the manager of energy and sustainability for the college. I've been here 8 years.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Levins. I'm the social media coordinator. I've been here for 3 years.
Hi, I'm Deborah Richard. I've been with Community Relations for 14 years now.
Thank you all. We do have a couple of newcomers, so we're just doing the introductions very quickly. Your name, your position, and how long you've been here at the college.
I've been here for 6.5 years. Barb Pruk, I work in global engagement. I'm the coordinator for student exchange and education abroad, everything international to and from.
Thank you all for that. Now, of course, the reason we're here today, you guys know that in the email I sent you, we will have our exchange of views with the executive team on November 6th. And so the purpose of our meeting today is to give you a recap on some things that have happened and also to get some ideas and input to help facilitate the discussion on the 6th. So one of the things, Brittany Ressman is going to come and give us an overview of some of the SESI data, the SESI, the Community College Survey of Student Engagement. And so she's already let me know that she'll be here around 3:30, so we'll give her that time. But in the meantime, what I want to do is to give you an update on the SOAR team. So over the past 6 months or so, we've had a SOAR team, and there are handouts associated with the SOAR team. And the Strategic Outlook and Review team was comprised of a number of administrators, faculty, professional, technical, and community folks. And essentially our task was to look at data that was presented to us on various topics over the course of the 6 months and to give our reactions, our responses, our suggestions. And so over that time period, the IR team recorded those responses and observations and then looked for trends. And so the handout is about some of those trends. I'm not going to go into great detail, just to highlight that there are some major categories: students, employees, academic programs, student support, partnerships, and community engagement. So those were the overarching themes that came out. And then within each of those, there are some bulleted items. Now, some of you have received an invitation to participate in the Strategic Planning Summit that's taking place on November 1st. Anyone here participating in the Strategic Planning Summit on November 1st? Okay. It is not open to everyone. As you can understand, there is the limitation to the number of people we can fit into a room. So the idea, though, is that folks who represent every area of the college will be included in that discussion. And so one of the things leading up to the Strategic Planning Summit is that we who are participating were given this list or an edited version of it and asked to identify the top 3 areas we would like to work on. The goal being that at the summit, they're going to break those people up into teams, and then each team is going to work on a list of goals or recommendations for each of those bulleted items. So again, I'm not going to go into there's about 18 of them here, but just know that those are the things that will be discussed at the Strategic Planning Summit. Now, I bring that up because our meeting on November 6th will follow right after that summit. So if there's any, those of you who aren't participating in the summit, if there's any ideas, recommendations, or suggestions that you would like for us to bring forward, that will be the time to do that at our exchange of views. So again, that brings us back to our purpose for today, which is to talk with you all and come up with some ideas, some talking points, suggestions, recommendations that we can bring towards for this exchange of views discussion and have the topics and ideas kind of work or fleshed out before we get there. So that's SOAR. SOAR did conclude its work in late September, and that group is done now with all that they're going to do, and the next step is the Strategic Planning Summit. Any comments or questions on that? Yes? Maybe? Okay. So the other sheet that we have shared, and by the way, those of you who are signed in digitally, I'll email these to you. The other sheet outlines the strategic plan from Advanced 2020, some of the main goals and objectives. And so again, all of this is brought forward for your consideration because we want you to think about from your perspective as a P-TECH member, what do you think the college should focus on as we start to build on our next strategic plan for the next 5 years, right? And so what are some of the ideas? What are some of the goals? What are some of the things? You know, I'd like to say, what is your wish list? What would you like to see the college do or work on over the next 5 years? So that's what this is, a recap of the Advanced 2020 strategic goals. And then there's workspace here to record some of our discussion and to record some of your ideas if you don't want to talk about them, so that, again, we can compile all of this and take to the exchange of views. And finally, I don't know, Carla, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Do you mind giving a recap of the, from spring 2019, those ideas that you didn't bring anything?
They are posted to the website, so if anybody wants to go back and look at those from spring exchange of views, all of the suggested solutions that we spoke about at that exchange of views are all in the minutes on the website. So those were things like when we talked about the bereavement leave, and May gave us that specific code and everything that there was, you know, and how now the new form does include the bereavement leave on there. So those are some of the updates that have come out of our exchange of views, bringing up those things, and then them going back and implementing those into HR systems and different things. So all of that is on our website for the minutes. I don't recall any outstanding things right now. Again, I didn't bring the copy of it. But if you want to look back at that before exchange of views in November 6th, that would be helpful.
One of the things the executive team is, even though P-TECH had submitted and posted an update to the website, executive team is looking at to see if any of that information can be refined. And so they are currently working on that, and that was confirmed today. So all of that will be shared. The update on the update will be shared during our exchange of views. Something else that we've discussed in this time frame is the great colleges goals. I'm going to ask Sabrina to give a brief update on that.
Hello again. So there's a Great Colleges Task Force that's been meeting pretty regularly since the survey was administered, going over, and if you remember, we put out the feedback to the different employee groups and asked the employees to prioritize what they thought was most important to each area, to professional employees, career service employees, or faculty. So out of those priorities, 6 other priorities bubbled to the top out of all the feedback that we received, and we are looking at those to see how can we incorporate those into the strategic planning and what are we going to do to move forward. So we're at a halt right now because we are waiting for strategic planning to happen. We want to make sure some of those priorities are included in that. The committee that has been meeting is representatives from human resources, and then the chairs and the co-chairs of the employee group. And I can tell you that what's listed on this paper under employees: create a more flexible work environment for employees, enhance career development opportunities, and continue to strengthen shared governance strategies and practices were 3 of the priorities that came out of the Great Colleges survey for employees. And those are being considered for the strategic planning as well. We are also planning to do a Great Colleges update email to the college, and so that'll be coming out sometime soon within the executive team email. So just keep a lookout for that, and if you have any questions, you can contact.
Any questions or comments so far? Yes. Oh, we do have a microphone. Well, but we're recording, Barb, so streaming, yes, recording,
So I'm looking
broadcasting.
under this advanced 2020 strategic. First of all, are the A, Bs, and Cs, and Ds, and whatever, are those in order of priority, or are they just the box?
Now, to be clear, they're not in order of priority. But also remember, this is our strategic plan that's closing out, right? So this is to give us talking points on what was our previous strategic plan goals and the focus. The idea is that if there's anything in here that you feel are talking points or need to be brought forward, then we can continue to talk about that. But all of this will likely change or in some form or fashion as we move forward with our next strategic plan. But go ahead, your next question.
So, okay, because where it says provide an exemplary workplace, I think we all strive for that, but I have never understood exactly what that means, because there's not really a definition to it, and it sounds like a very HR statement with very little meaning behind it, because that could mean something to her that doesn't mean anything to me. So because we're in this phase of transparency and you know, goodness for everybody, I think a goodness for everybody would be more of a definition and less of a general statement that really has no background to it.
So
that's just me, but
well, no, I think that's a fair statement. So going forward, you would like to see words that have very specific meaning, or if there is some ambiguity, that's cleared up with some clear examples of what it is that this represents.
Yes, because everybody wants an exemplary workplace.
Sure.
Nobody wants to work in a place that's not great. But that means nothing,
right,
in reality. So just that's, exactly, not transparency.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay, so duly noted. So going forward for our strategic planning, make notes that certain terms and phrases may need to be clarified, or we can find better terms and phrases. Right?
Yeah.
Other comments or topics of discussion you'd like to bring up? Yes? No? So if you could come up with what you think might be your top 2 or 3 goals in our next strategic planning cycle, what do you think that might be? Here we are between the great colleges and our strategic planning summit and the work of the SOAR team. And then we have a number of discussions going on, particularly regarding equity with Dr. Harris. So I feel like we have a lot of information that we can work to meld together to come up with some plans and things that are goals that are important to this particular group. So do you need time to think about this? Have you not thought about this? Or is there for you personally, any one thing that kind of stands out as something you'd like to see going forward in our strategic plan that you'd like to see the college focus on? Outside of money? Yes.
I'd like to see a definite plan for the Altamont Springs campus with all of that beautiful land we have sitting out there. That's just been sitting for years.
Something needs to be done, and I know the board has repeatedly said something needs to be done, but nothing has been done. So I think that's a huge chunk of just the map of this college. What are we going to look like? And
In 5 years or 10
yes,
years.
and if we're not going to use it, can we sell it and do something else? You know, just what are we going to do with that?
Going forward.
Yeah, I'd like to see a definite plan come out of our strategic plan for that.
Well, as you know, the college has had plans, and those plans have been dashed quite readily by our legislators because of the budget. And even now, with projects such as the G building, not even the current situation that we're dealing with, the geographical anomalies, but that roof was scheduled to be worked on at some point in time, and because of the budget and the prioritizing that was done at the legislature, that got pushed down so far down on the list of projects that it's unlikely that it would be funded. But now that we have this more pressing matter, and even that is going to be handled mostly by insurance. So noted that there is opportunity at Altamont, and we know at Altamont they're already at capacity. They've been at capacity for years. Many will say since they opened up the doors there, and so that there is a need to expand and to find space there.
So this will be a little bit of like, of course she's going to say that, but thinking about strategic planning, I think that we really maybe need to incorporate sustainability and or resilience into the way that we talk about our future as an institution. And I think that one or both of those words needs to find its way into our strategic plan for the next few years, so that it's kind of written in the largest document for the college that we are thinking more long-term and a little bit less about quick solutions for things. So that would be my...
Sustainability and resilience. Okay. Of course, James would say that.
Barbara, do you want to explain the change in exchange of views and how that's going to look like on November 6th?
So thank you for bringing that up. So one of the exchange of views has gone through, well, to my understanding, has not really been the same each time we've had it, right? And so this next exchange of views, Dr. Lorenz has really asked us to use it as a working session, an opportunity to do sort of what we're doing here. So our goal here was to be a precursor to the exchange of views, to kind of get some ideas on paper and some recommendations, but really the exchange of views on the 6th is meant to be a working session so that we have the information from SESI, or at least the overview, and then we'll have some information about what was accomplished at the Strategic Planning Summit, so that when we come together, we can brainstorm or come up with ideas, ways to move the college forward towards meeting its mission, vision, and goals for the future. And so that will be an opportunity really for, again, any ideas that you have, and we know everything won't be managed right off, but at least if we put it out there for consideration, then potentially there might be an opportunity for it to come back around. So the session on the 6th isn't meant to be a session where we just have executive team members talking at us, as much as talking with us and having a true exchange and trying to figure out what can be done, what can we do to move this college forward. So it's interesting, you know, hearing the introductions where we have a handful of folks who've been here 5 or 6 years or less, and then a handful of folks who've been here 10 to 20 years or more. And so it'll be interesting, I think, to think about, well, as Deb said, what will this college look like 5 or 10 years from now? or 15 or 20 years from now? What do we want it to look like? I think this is an opportunity to provide some input on shaping this college for the future and for meeting its future goals and objectives. So it is designed to be a working session, similar to this. So it is designed to be a working session. So any of the board members have any questions or anything they want to add to what I just said about the exchange of views? Brittany, don't sit down. So Brittany's here. She's going. Come on up, and we have done introductions. So if you could give us.
Since 8 o'clock.
We have refreshments here, so we'll get you something while you get yourself together. But Brittany Ressman is going to give us an overview of SESI. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard some things about the SESI report, and it is not possible to go into a deep dive because there's so much information there. So I did ask Brittany to come. She is a member of our council, so I did ask her to come and kind of give us an overview of what's going on with the SESI results.
Thanks. So I've been talking since 8:30, so I'll do my best. It was like program reviews number 70 through 76 today in 5 weeks. So I have not been in my office since convocation, I don't think. Anyway, so SESI, has everyone heard of SESI before? No idea what I'm talking about. So I'll just do a quick overview of what SESI is. SESI is the Community College Survey of Student Engagement. We do SESI once every 2 to 3 years. It's a pretty expensive survey, so that's how we do it, once every 2 to 3 years. It's out of the University of Texas at Austin, so it's a national survey. Annually, about 500,000 students take the survey a year. So it's a big pool of data that we have comparisons for. This year in Florida, we had 13 of the Florida College System schools take the survey also. So we got comparisons to schools our size nationally, a national cohort, and then 13 of the 28 colleges in the system. So it gives us really great data. It's a pretty unique survey because most surveys we do, you have a big selection bias where the students who complete the survey, usually they're really angry or they're really happy, right? For SESI, we actually go into the classroom. We work with faculty to go into the classroom. We complete the survey face to face, and we get that feedback from a captive audience, right? It takes about 45 minutes to complete. It's a very long survey. It's 82 permanent items, and there's every year there's a special focus. They change the special focus every time you do the administration. This year, the special focus was like guided pathways. So we got 30 questions about pathways. Varying, so the items on the survey, and I can send anyone who wants, they'll be out there in the wild pretty soon. They sent us about 700 pages worth of data. We, summarize it down to about 100, but it's still 100 pages of data. I also have a PowerPoint that is still like 30 PowerPoint slides. So it's hard to kind of, like Barbara said, it's hard to kind of narrow it down. So I'll kind of keep it top level, but I wanted to give you the context first. It asks things, every question's tied back through research on student engagement. 1,200. Yeah, we actually went into all the classrooms, 90 sections that myself and our staff in our office went in and administered the survey. Yeah, it's exhausting. That's another reason why we do it once every 2 to 3 years. This is my 3rd time doing SESI in my role, and I said I retired from administering SESI. I'll do the data analysis part, but the legwork, I'm good. We all say 3 is enough. Okay. So I just want to give you the context. Every question on the survey ties back to research on student engagement, and it's also research that these levels of engagement also tie back to retention, completion, right? And all the positive things, right? So a more engaged student is, the more likely they are to be successful, not just in your course, but at the college and then when they transfer. Okay, so that give you a kind of quick overview of SESI. Okay, good. This is all from memory, so let's go. So I'll give you kind of there's a lot of opportunity with our SESI results. We've done SESI, again, this is my third time doing it. We get the data back and it's not always acted upon. It's more of like that's nice. The last time we did it, we had, so the 82 items are organized in categories. So there's 5 categories. To kind of keep it top level on what you're looking at. The last time we administered it, we went down in all 5 categories, and we were below the benchmark. So those 3 groups I told you about, we were below all 3 benchmarks. Okay. And so that was 2 years ago. We did it again this year. Same thing happened. We were against ourselves. We're down in all categories except for 1. And that was student effort. So students are saying they're trying harder. Okay. Saying is always not always reflected on. And we're also seeing that we are way below our Florida college system schools. We actually saw Valencia's results, and their student engagement results are, it's a 50-point scale, so they index score everything to 50. We're 6 points below Valencia in almost every category, which when you have an index of 50, that's a really significant difference. Because often we say, just so our students are this, our students are that. That's someone locally, who's dealing with some of the same issues that we would deal with, that we just don't have the same levels of engagement with our student population. And I think, just from my view of the world, we often explain things away. But I think the leadership now is looking for us to really think about solutions, right? Because it's not just other schools are trying new and innovative ways to kind of turn those engagement levels around. Because they know those engagement levels will impact those things that we care, retention rates, completion rates, do you transfer? Like those are things that are impacted by student engagement. And I think another little side piece of this is we actually just went to a SETC conference, 7 of us. There are 3 faculty members, myself, who else went? Stephen Summers, Johnny Craig. I'm missing one person, am I? Kate, yeah, thank you. Again, I've been in a meeting for 8 hours. I'm a little. And part of that, the conference was hosted by SESI, focused on guided pathways. So we had to do a deep dive into our data, looking at how we compare to ourselves compared to the national cohort and then to the state cohort. And especially on those guided pathways questions, there were some things that kind of shocked us. More of it's an opportunity, right? To really try to change the way that we're doing things. A couple of the questions off the top of my head that we were kind of surprised by, less than half our students are saying that they go to advising. So we make a lot of decisions based on a population that is not necessarily all of our students are going to advising. Half of them are saying that they're going to advising. Over 80% of our students who we surveyed said that no one's ever asked them about what goes on outside the classroom and how that impacts their academic performance. So things like family, work, life, right? So 80% of students say they've never been asked about those things and how that impacts, how they schedule courses or how successful they are. The Kate Henry one I always think about, it was like 90% of our students say that no one has ever told them how much it's going to cost them to complete a degree. And our competitors are saying straight up, you could get a degree in 1.5 years and it costs you X number of dollars. Even though it's $60,000, they still know how much it costs them, right? So for us, they just don't know, right? Even though you could do it for a fraction, we just don't provide that information in a clear way for them. So kind of the big picture is that we haven't really changed what we're doing, and we're seeing the same results, right? We do pockets of changes, right? So pockets of initiatives, not looking really at a holistic change. So when you keep seeing these data results, sometimes it's frustrating, right? Because we're working really hard, but it's not a holistic approach, right? So generally, though, the experience for the students has been the same, right? So you're seeing these results continue to decline. And unless something kind of drastic changes, I won't be surprised by the next results. 2 years from now, they'll probably be the same. That's just my view of the world. But looking at, I mean, for this SETC conference, we had to turn in it was like 300 pages of work of analysis on the data. And it really made you kind of really be reflective on some of our practices. And the big takeaway also is the students who took the survey in class, they tend to be younger, they tend to be more full-time, which is a more engaged population. So the actual data of our students is probably much worse than what we see in the results. Because this is yeah. Yeah, it's active collaborative learning, so things like tutoring. It is faculty interaction is in there. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. It's collaboration is one. There's I can't remember the wording for it, but it's something about like how you're onboarded. So things like, are you connecting to career? Do you go to advising? Is that important to you? And we tend to see on those kind of questions, students find like advising and the career advising really important, but they're not satisfied with it and they're not using it. So they find it really important, but there's a disconnect on use, for example. Top of my head, I'm really, again, a little brain dead from 72 program reviews in 5 weeks, but I have a summary that I could send to everyone also. I could bring it up too, but this is much easier. But it's not just, people say it's it's an advising thing or it's a student affairs thing. SETC results really are across the board. It's about the student experience across the board, how they're experiencing their coursework, how engaged they are with the material, are they doing internships, and then the guided pathways questions were probably more on the onboarding process. And for us, when we did all our pre-work, what really kind of stood out to us, when you look at guided pathways, there's 4 pillars of pathways. A lot of our weaknesses have to be in the first pillar, so getting students kind of on the right path. And that's where our data kind of showed that we can do better at first. That's what stood out with us. A couple of the pieces that from that review that we think were really kind of powerful is for our FTAC population, so the first time in college students, we had to kind of see how they attain credits as they go along. Less than half of our students, our FTICs, earn 15 credit hours in their first year. So it's 48.6% earn 15 credits in their first year. And when we were at this conference, we saw kind of the national norms. We are towards the bottom. So that is not something that we should be okay with, really. So we kind of think about like opportunities. I just see this as more of, we have a lot of opportunity to learn from what other schools are doing, to kind of look at our processes. Because if you're in meetings, you often hear like, oh, we've done it this way because that's the way we've done it. Or, sometimes it's based on a student population that's, a small population of students. So really thinking holistically and rethinking, being honest with ourselves to say, what can we do differently? That's kind of what my takeaway was. Go ahead.
So I guess my concern or my thought process in listening to you is that, one, I heard you say that the students that are in the classrooms and taking this survey are younger, and we've been told consistently that we have an older population.
We've gotten younger, actually, over the past 5 years.
Okay, so that's not information that has reached my ears, so I don't know.
We need to do a program review next year.
And everything that I hear with the students, with the faculty, with the administration is that we excel in these things. And you're saying that the last 2 surveys, we've gone down and we're staying stagnant. So in this downtrend. Yeah. So I guess my concern is sort of like this statement of exemplary workplace, instead of always talking about how great we are, why don't we talk about what our problems are and actually try to fix them. Like, it's great to toot our own horn, and I don't think we do enough of that in certain programming things, because we have amazing faculty and amazing initiatives in this college, but it seems like, listening to what you're saying, what triggers in my mind is we are hiding behind, we're great, but we're actually not addressing issues.
Hallelujah.
You know, and so to me, that is something that should be taken to the exchange of views, because you can't talk the talk and not walk the walk. I mean, we really care about our students, so let's really make it an exemplary place to go to school.
So Bart, I think you're planted by a certain member of the exec team, because this is something that they've said to me a couple times now. I think we've also often hid behind the fact that we were gold, not realizing that was for 2,000 students. And we have 30,000 students, right? We're gold for a very small portion of the student population, not looking at the big picture, right? And the experience of all of our students. And even with the gold status, that was a lot of hard work that was very reactive, right? So it's students towards the end of their degree, and we're like hustling to get them through to keep that gold status, right? It's not really thinking about how we start them and get them on the right path, right? And making it easier, like, you shouldn't have to call like 40 times to get enrolled, or it shouldn't be so challenging to register for classes. Like, you know, it's all very labor intensive, and that's why employees feel so overworked, right? When it's very reactive and not kind of thinking about holistically.
And being proactive. And I really think that, you know, a lot of colleges and universities across the nation use the whole thing, oh, best practices here and best practices there. But it's not about best practices if it doesn't work for our campus and for our students. And that is what I think we are not paying enough attention to. And I would like to see go to the exchange of views as something that we really need to take an honest eyeball to.
And from my perspective, you know, we often in IR we try to share this information, but it's hard when people like to focus on the fact we're gold. Like, that is a fun thing to say. But
well, it is, but let's make it gold throughout.
For every student.
You know? Exactly.
Every student should have that gold experience, right?
Exactly.
And that's
because that'll make it better for the faculty. It'll make it better for the staff. It'll make it better for the administration. I mean, it'll make it better all the way across. But
for the budget, like, that would...
Buzzwords don't work unless behind the buzzwords is action that makes it work. And I think people are frustrated with that.
But I think with the assessment results, just from... You know, I'll share this out to you so you send them out. I sent you the results already, right? Yeah, the big thing. I have a summary I guess send. If you want the 100-page report, just send me an email. I will share you a 100-page report. I don't mind. But with assessment results, I think it's what I would like to see is, you know, employees at all levels really, you know, taking, you know, being on the teams to try to make improvements, right? It's not just an executive team problem or a student affairs problem or an academic affairs problem. It's college-wide. It needs to be part of the approach to make these long-term solutions.
And that's really the goal of having this discussion, is because we're all part of the solution, right? Some have said if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Well, we're all part of the solution. And that ties also back to our keynote speaker from Convocation, Dr. Harris, because although he had 2 different workshops, one for faculty and one for all employees, he made it clear that every employee at the college is an educator and should be invested in student success. And so while his topic was focused on a particular demographic, the reality is that a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm just full of cliches today. So a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So if we can, as Brittany said, give every student that gold experience while also addressing equity issues and making sure we have equitable outcomes for students, then yes, that'll make it a better experience for them and for us. so that we can all work together to make this college what it is purported to be, which is a gold standard college, right? So you say you have
5 categories.
Oh, the 5 categories.
Yes. Active collaborative learning, student effort, academic challenge, student-faculty interaction, support for learners. So we went down in 4 of the 5 compared to ourselves, which the previous one was not very good. And then we were down, all the comparisons, we were below. And then when you compare us to like the Valencia, we were way below. Okay.
So again, this is and again, to reiterate what Brittany has said several times, this is an opportunity for us to put some ideas forward, not some, but maybe a lot. And of course, IR won't appreciate, if we have 1,000 ideas and we throw them all out there, you don't really know what's working. But if you have some ideas, whether they're derived from best practices at other schools, but customized for our institution, or if it's just something entirely new and or different or innovative, then again, this is an opportunity to speak on those things. Insanity is the last one. A definition for insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. So it's clear that we need to do something different in a lot of different areas so that we get different and better results. Any other questions or comments?
I'm just wondering if anyone has ever thought about looking at the SESI data side by side with the great colleges data, because it seems to me that there's some intersections there and there's some divergence too. And if we aren't being everything we can be to our students, how is it really a great place to work for?
Yeah.
So we need to look at both of those things hand in hand rather than in silos like it seems like we have been. If there's been something, I haven't heard about it.
We actually, that was my suggestion for Kate Henry's master's project, was to look at faculty engagement and student engagement, or staff engagement, right? That huge decline we had for 2 years ago was at the same time we did the first grade colleges, which we saw big declines in faculty's level of engagement, and we saw that with the students also. But they are directly connected, and at that workshop we went to in Texas, the president of St. Pete, she's done a lot of her efforts about you can't have engaged students without engaged employees. So spending a lot of efforts on that. I think it'd be good for us as PTech is to say, our engagement is tied directly to student engagement, and really keep driving that home, because there's research out there that shows that. And we shared that with Kate when she was working on her project about the importance of employees feeling like they're part of innovation to foster student improvement, right?
Yes. I guess I have the microphone. So along those lines, we have opportunities like this. We're talking about this being a working session and exchange of views as a working session. So sometimes people don't speak out because, there's some perceived fear. We've heard that before. So some of us here, if we supervise employees, nobody likes to be surprised at an open meeting, right? So we need to challenge ourselves to have those conversations with our employees, encourage those that we supervise to go to the meetings, also so that we already know what's going on within our department. We know sometimes we make decisions because our supervisors make decisions, and then we don't understand how that affects the people we supervise. So if we can get that communication from the people we supervise, that gives us an opportunity then to share with others who maybe we haven't had the opportunity to share, so that we can open that up so we can be engaged. Because I feel like sometimes I hear conversations where people say, well, there's this issue and there's that issue and no one will do anything about it. And if I say anything, then my boss might say this or that. But that doesn't really help us. So as supervisors, as professional employees and technical employees, let's open that communication in our own departments so we know what's coming up the chain.
That's a good suggestion. Morgan.
I was just going to comment too. I mean, I'm all about the push for innovation and looking for ways to do things better. I think one of the things I'm concerned about making sure it gets presented is that it's tough to do that when you're losing people and not able to replace them. It's hard to do innovation on fewer, doing more with less. And I think it particularly hits our area even more. I mean, at least that's been my experience. I supervise both faculty and P-TECH members, and our P-TECH, we've had one P-TECH and one career service leave. Those positions have been frozen. Our faculty was replaced, so I'm grateful for that. But, you know, it shouldn't be, I would be concerned that it's just a clear line like that. You know, is there more intentional thought behind this? Because, you know, just stripping the P-TECH areas, you know, and restocking the faculty fully, I mean, I'm all in favor of restocking the faculty, but it may lead to unintended consequences or inability to do the innovation that we need to address these issues.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Say it again.
That was one of the things that Johnny was sharing. Like, you don't want to waste a hire either. You want to make sure we're hiring people who support innovation.
Mm-hmm. Other questions or comments?
One thing that Barbara was mentioning as we rounded up our session with SOAR is Dr. Lorenz pointed out Mark Morgan's approach to hopefully the summit with a design thinking point of view, which means put ideas out there and don't shoot them down right away. Because there is great ideas, but some people go right to implementation. You know, oh, that won't work because they see these barriers without letting that idea mature a little bit and discuss, well, there might be some barriers about how we can go around it. So in our exchange of views, it'd be, as Terry was saying, and Morgan, if we can find a way of, you know, presenting these ideas and say, we know there will be barriers initially, but we can still work through them, you know, to get to a point where we can maybe look at staffing issues or a sense of trust even as we discuss issues that might make some people feel uncomfortable. But our student survey, our Great College survey shows that, again, we're goal for 2,000 students. We're a great college for one category in the Great College. It was the one to the far left, if you don't see the survey. And the rest of us were either mediocre or we weren't satisfied with this. So these are things that we've brought up before, and I think if we continue to bring up in a constructive in a way where we're not saying, well, we can't afford that. Well, true, but what can we do to find allocations from other areas, you know?
And so one of the things you have on your page in front of you, some space to write down your ideas, possible solution, your concerns and possible solutions. So I would ask you to utilize that. And what we'll do is we can collect those and compile what we have. And those of you who are tuning in digitally, you can send that to us via email, and we can compile what we have and use that as a springboard for our discussion at our exchange of views. And so, as Michael said, not tossing any idea out for what we think will work or won't work, but really giving some serious consideration to any and everything, and hopefully finding that there are some patterns and trends that evolve. And I'm convinced that even though we often feel like we are siloed, that many of us have some of the same ideas about how to get employees and students engaged, right? I mean, that's Sabrina's whole thing is about getting employees engaged. So definitely, whatever ideas you have, suggestions, recommendations, even if you feel like it's such a far-fetched thing, put it on paper, give it to us today, or send it to us via email, and we'll compile those and bring those to our exchange of views.
As a part of the finance department, I think it's important that we discuss finances, to try and look for creative ways to be able to offset what we're feeling now with our strict budget. So we're feeling the result of 8 years of no tuition increases. We're feeling the result of a great growing economy. But why should this institution suffer every time the economy is good. So I think, you know, we have a new CFO coming on board.
Yes.
And it could be an opportune time for him to be tasked with creative ways. And if that involves bonding or, you know, going out for bonds, or maybe incrementally raising tuition rates if we can somehow. Valencia, I think they're above us in their tuition, right? Barely, but incremental.
They're also growing. So it goes back to kind of things I was saying also is that
They have the downtown campus now.
but
So.
not only that though, is we looked at their average enrollments per student. So that's something we talk about in our program reviews a lot. Their students each year are taking 3 more courses a year than our students. But that just yeah. But if we could get governor. But if we could get our student enrollment to match what Valencia is seeing in terms of the average number of courses a student takes per year, we'd be swimming in money. Like it would not be a non-issue, right? We looked at Valencia and Indian River, both 3 courses more a year than our students.
Well,
Indian River is
we
smaller.
have, as far as head count goes, we have students, but these students aren't taking as many classes as they used to take. And so that's one of the reasons we see the decline in our enrollments. It's not so much the head count per se as it is that students just aren't signing up for 4 classes a term or even 3 for that matter.
And other schools aren't seeing that because they're also being a little more innovative in what they're doing in terms of pathways and kind of the student experience, and they're seeing, the result. And because Indian River, they're a much different demographic than Orange County. Like they're pretty rural, and they're still seeing big differences.
Do we have any feedback on why that is? Why our students aren't taking as many courses? Does that tie back to their reluctance to go see counselors?
Our data suggests that there's a couple things. It's very challenging to get through the onboarding process. We have a lot of barriers for students. That's what we're seeing. Sometimes we're advising students based on what we think is best for them and not what the data shows what's best for them. One piece that we just kind of ran after enrollment management is that it's been a practice that we tell students to take fewer courses so they're more successful, but our data shows that actually every credit hour you take, the higher your GPA is. So it goes against kind of our practices. We're doing things based on gut, not based on data. These schools tend to be more data-driven in their decision-making, being clear for students on why they're doing an AA degree, how it connects to a career. They're really leaders on those kind of practices. Where, if you're in AA and not understanding why you're in an AA, you're less likely to be moving along quicker, for example. Does that answer the question, kind of? Is it for me? Can I sit down after this? Gotta take a nap. Okay.
So the SESI, I want to get back to the SESI. You said it's very expensive.
It is.
And we do it every 2 or 3 years. Is that something that IR wants to do, or is that something that the administration wants to do? Because my question is, if this is something that is important to our institution to have that data, and for the past 2 times we've been under par, it would seem to me, just with that statement, that we're not taking the data, in the information that we get from this very expensive survey, and doing anything about it.
Historically, I think it's changing now. I think we've done in the past partially for accreditation purposes, because it does feed into the narrative for accreditation. I think it's been I think leadership change is a different type of leadership we have right now, very like data driven. I think before it was more like, I don't know what to do with this. And as an IR, there's only so much you can do to try to push change.
Yeah.
It has to come from a leadership role, right?
Right, but
Yeah.
I guess my point is that as a thought to take to point of view is that we do things like this and we get great information, or there are initiatives that people want to take, or programming that we would like to do, and everybody talks, and yeah, that's a great idea, and then it just dies in the water. And I think it's a waste of money. I think it's a waste of people's time, and I think it creates a lot of frustration with faculty and staff and students. And I think that action should be one of our items of discussion. Like, not just doing it because it's a good thing to do. If we're going to do it and we're going to spend the money and the time on it, then we really need to do something with it.
Yeah. And it's not just IR telling you to do something from it, because it gets exhausting for us, though, to bring all this data to people and be like, there's only so many hours in the day.
And that brings us back, and again, and that really is why we're here, is to help generate some ideas that are actionable, that we can actually do something with to help address some of these issues. So our time is just about up. If you have some ideas or suggestions and you'd like for them to be compiled in our list, please use that sheet to write your ideas down, or you can email them to me at some point. It's lebrachb@seminolestate.edu. Of course, everyone should have received an email from me as a reminder for the 2 meetings, so you can just reply to that as well. Jeff, you want to say something? I was going to ask what was the best email. Oh, yeah, lebrachb@seminolestate.edu. So with that, I'd like to again thank you all for coming out. Thank you for sharing. Please use your voice as it is and speak up and speak out. Hopefully no one is concerned about retaliation, but if that is a concern, then send me an email and let me know that you want this to be anonymous, and then we'll just take it forward from there. So thank you all for coming out. Have a great day.